What can the world learn from the U.S.'s avoidable political, economic, and social crisis? By Azlan Adnan, M.A. In May 2025, the United States, long the emblem of liberal democracy and economic might, is in a state of profound crisis. The economy is teetering on recession, political polarization has paralyzed governance, and societal trust has fractured across lines of race, class, and ideology. The return of Donald J. Trump to the presidency, despite multiple legal indictments and a deeply divisive legacy, is not merely a dramatic political turn. It is symptomatic of a deeper malaise afflicting the American body politic. This slow-motion collapse, however, is not destiny. It is the culmination of decades of deliberate political choices, economic mismanagement, and social neglect. And for nations around the world, particularly emerging democracies and transitional economies, America's predicament is a cautionary tale of what happens when institutions decay from within. Democracy is not self-sustaining. The most urgent lesson from the American crisis is that democracy requires more than elections. Despite priding itself as the oldest continuous democracy, the United States has revealed the fragility of its own institutions. Gerrymandering, voter suppression, disinformation, and the erosion of judicial independence have all contributed to a political environment in which minority rule can persist, and democratic accountability is hollowed out. The 2024 re-election of Donald Trump, despite his previous attempts to overturn the 2020 results and incite an insurrection on 6th of January 2021, suggests a system where norms have collapsed and accountability mechanisms have failed. A significant proportion of the electorate continues to reject basic facts about the election, climate change, or public health, sustained by an echo chamber of partisan media and algorithmic propaganda. This is not merely an American problem. Across the globe, populist strongmen, from Bolsonaro in Brazil until his 2022 defeat, to Modi in India, Erdogan in Turkey, and Orban in Hungary, have tested the limits of institutional resilience. Yet, unlike the United States, some of these nations have managed to recover or rebalance through civic mobilization and electoral reform. In Brazil, for instance, Lula da Silva's 2022 return to power after a close contest was not merely a political comeback. It was a reaffirmation of Brazil's democratic resolve. Courts, civil society, and the Electoral Commission held firm against Bolsonaro's Trump-like attacks on legitimacy. The lesson: when institutions are vigilant and society remains engaged, democracy can withstand populist pressure. The perils of inequality and economic short-termism. America's economic woes are not just about business cycles. They are structural. The ever-widening gap between rich and poor, the hollowing out of the middle class, and the persistent racial wealth divide have created an economy that thrives for the few and stagnates for the many. The Trump-era tax cuts of 2017, made permanent in 2025, accelerated wealth accumulation among billionaires while leaving public services grossly underfunded. This short-termism, prioritizing quarterly growth over long-term sustainability, has left the United States with crumbling infrastructure, staggering debt, and a declining life expectancy in several regions. The resurgence of inflation in 2025, partly fueled by renewed trade wars and tariff hikes, has exacerbated the cost of living crisis for millions of Americans. By contrast, countries like Norway, Germany, and Singapore have pursued long-term strategic planning, balancing market efficiency with social protection. Germany's robust vocational training system, for instance, ensures a steady pipeline of skilled labor while maintaining low youth unemployment. Norway's sovereign wealth fund, the world's largest, shields its economy from commodity price shocks and ensures intergenerational equity. Malaysia and South Korea offer additional contrasts. Both have transitioned from middle-income to high-income economies through sustained investment in education, industrial policy, and public health. While neither is immune to inequality, their relative success in managing it underscores the importance of inclusive development models. The global lesson is clear: growth alone is not enough. Without fairness, opportunity, and resilience, economic gains can fuel resentment, not prosperity. Inequality is not just a social issue. It is a political time bomb. Social cohesion, the forgotten pillar of national power. Perhaps the most alarming dimension of the American crisis is its social fragmentation. Public trust in institutions, from Congress to the Supreme Court, police forces, and even science, has plummeted. Partisan identities have hardened into tribal divisions. The gun epidemic claims over 40,000 lives annually, while homelessness has reached unprecedented levels in major U.S. cities. Such a breakdown in the social fabric is not accidental. It reflects decades of policy neglect. The American ethos of rugged individualism, while long celebrated, has morphed into a refusal to invest in collective well-being. Public schools are underfunded, mental health services are overwhelmed, and racial injustice remains unresolved. Other nations offer alternative models. Finland, for example, boasts some of the world's highest trust levels and lowest inequality rates. It invests heavily in early childhood education and community health care, creating a virtuous cycle of social cohesion and democratic stability. Costa Rica, though far less wealthy, abolished its military in 1949 and redirected resources toward health and education. Today, it ranks above the U.S. in happiness and environmental sustainability indices. The takeaway: social cohesion is strategic capital. Without it, no amount of military or economic power can guarantee internal stability. As climate change, migration, and global shocks intensify, only cohesive societies will remain resilient. Geopolitical isolation and the end of American exceptionalism. America's global standing has also suffered. Trump's renewed America First doctrine has seen the United States exit or ignore critical international treaties, from the Paris Climate Accord to the Trans-Pacific Partnership and WTO dispute mechanisms. By rejecting multilateralism, Washington has created a leadership vacuum that others, most notably China and BRICS Plus, are now filling. The expansion of BRICS Plus in 2024, which welcomed countries such as Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Indonesia, signals a rebalancing of global influence. These nations are increasingly trading in local currencies, bypassing the US dollar, and building alternative development banks. Even close U.S. allies are hedging their bets, pursuing strategic autonomy in trade, defense, and climate policy. The lesson for the world: credibility is earned, not inherited. Soft power, rooted in cultural leadership, rule of law, and global cooperation, is far more enduring than aircraft carriers or sanctions regimes. Countries that lead with humility, partnership, and values will command greater influence in a multipolar world. Conclusion: avoiding the American trap. The American crisis of 2025 is not a fait accompli. The United States remains a vast and innovative country, with resilient pockets of excellence in science, culture, and entrepreneurship. But the nation's current trajectory, marked by elite impunity, populist authoritarianism, and societal breakdown, is a stark warning to others. For emerging democracies, the imperative is to strengthen institutions before they are tested. For developing economies, the goal is to prioritize inclusive growth over extractive capitalism. And for all nations, the challenge is to rebuild trust between citizens and the state, between different ethnic or class groups, and between the past and the future. The world does not need to reject everything American, but it must reject the illusion that power, wealth, and liberty can survive without responsibility, equity, and solidarity. The United States is discovering painfully that greatness is not a birthright. It is a responsibility, one that, if squandered, invites decline. A heartfelt light. To every soul whose hand did give, you've helped me dream, helped me live. In darkest hours your light came through, with hearts so kind, so pure, so true. Your gifts, like stars in deepest night, have steered me gently toward the light. Each coin, each word, each silent prayer, a thread of hope, so rich, so rare. My eyes once dimmed now seek the skies, and slowly, clearer visions rise. Because of you, I dare to see the world again, its grace, its plea. Your compassion's flame will not just stay with me alone. It lights the way for others wandering through despair to feel the warmth of selfless care. You've shown what love in action means, in quiet ways through giving scenes. You've built a bridge from soul to soul and made the broken feel more whole. So let this thanks rise like a song, a melody both soft and strong. May your example gently call more hearts to rise to give. To fall into the joy of lifting pain, of planting hope where none remains. Your kindness walks beside me still, a light, a love, a living will.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to show your support.